Hello everyone, I am Adeep and today I'll be talking about how to get into top universities and colleges in the US and most importantly with full scholarship. So I applied for colleges for fall 2022 and fall 2023. Unfortunately, I could not get into the colleges I wanted to for fall 2022. I took a gap year, applied again, and thankfully I got into Washington and Lee University with full scholarship and some stipend during the early decision one round for fall 2023. So I'll be sharing my experiences and the mistakes I made the first time applied, and the corrections, and how you too can apply to the US colleges and get into good ones and then get good scholarship as well. So I'll be sharing my experiences, talking about the do's and don'ts, and I hope this video is really helpful. So I've made a list of a couple of things that I did wrong the first time, and the things I learned from the first time helped me a lot while applying for fall 2023. So the first mistake I made was I went after rank, and I applied to 20 colleges. I applied to the maximum limit that common application allows you to. So I applied to 20 colleges. All of them were reach. I applied to maybe two to three colleges that were safeties through their own website. But then, yeah, I applied to 20 colleges. All of them had acceptance rate of less than 35%. And I didn't even look for proper fit. So what I did was I looked after prestige, how famous they were. I really wanted to go there, and I applied to them. And the other mistake was that I applied to places where they didn't even offer the major I wanted to do. So, for example, I applied to most of the top liberal arts colleges, top liberal arts colleges ranked by the US News, and most of them don't even have engineering. So they have 3+2 major with the double degree, but then they don't have single engineering degree. I wanted to do engineering, but then I applied to them saying I want to major in physics and mathematics. I love physics and mathematics, but then I don't think I want to major in those subjects. And I applied to them, and obviously I got rejected by all of them. I got waitlisted by a few, but then got rejected. So that's the first and the biggest mistake. I went after rank, and my list was not balanced. So for someone who is looking to apply to maybe 20 colleges, I'd say maybe 8 colleges should be reach, 8 maybe target, and 4 should be safety. That's your choice. I'm just suggesting. So the other mistake that I have listed down is less time for the main essay. So what I did was, I remember the ED1 deadline last year was November 1 for the college I applied to. I started writing the main essay, I think from October 21st. So just 10 days. I completed my main essay in just 10 days. I didn't have time to review it properly. I couldn't give time to other people to review my essay. And I think I started my supplements just 2 days before the deadline. So that's a big no. If you do that, you'll not get proper quality. You will not be able to express what you want to express. So that's a big mistake. I'd recommend you to start at least 3 to 4 months before, so that way you can write multiple drafts, you can edit out things, you can ask others to edit it out for you, and asking others to review your essay is a tremendous help. So yeah, you have to start writing essay, at least thinking about it way before, maybe 3 to 4 months before. And that's what I did this year, and it worked out well. The other mistake is, yeah, since I was asking for a near full scholarship, full ride, I had to look into the financial aid policies of colleges well, and you'd expect me to do that for fall 2022, my first time, but I didn't. So I simply googled their financial aid policy. Most of them said yes, they meet 100% of the demonstrated need, but then the reality is kind of different. Even though the colleges say they meet 100% of the demonstrated need, it is not mostly applicable for international students. So what I found was there's a data set known as the Common Data Set (CDS), published by the colleges. I think it's about 34-35 pages. It has nearly everything you need to know about that college for that admission cycle. So it has everything from the acceptance rate, how many people applied, how many people made it, how many people were enrolled, and their average SAT, ACT score, and talking about the financial aid policy and for international students specifically. In that common data set, there's a section H. So in that section, it's all about financial aid, and you can see what financial aid, what package do they offer, the average need, and things like that. So for international students, I think, let me check, I think it is H, yeah, it is subsection H6, where you'll find the average average aid package. I think it's combined for need based and merit based. So I'll be keeping that for you to look on the screen, and this is the example of Washington and Lee University. So I think this is for fall 2021, not fall 2022, but fall 2021. So 86 undergraduate students, non-residents, non-resident aliens means international students. 86 of them were offered aid, and the average was 75,000. So that's really good. So you can, from this data, you can understand that there were many international students who got full ride. But then the total, the 86, is for 4 years. But nonetheless, 75,000 is a really good number. And if you're looking for full ride, then this college can be a good option for you. So you can look into the CDS of other colleges. Not every college updates them. I think Grinnell does not have the latest financial this common data set. So but other institutions surely do. So this is one thing that I didn't do last time, did this time, and it really worked out well. And I really recommend you to go through the common data set of every college that you're applying to. It really helps. And I'll be talking more about the common data set in a while. And yeah, the other mistake I made was I was overconfident. So I'd been doing very well in my school, and I was at the top of the class, top 2, top 1%, and I thought that I would easily get into a good US institution, but I was wrong. There are so many people applying from different parts of the world, maybe from Jamaica to India, Nepal, Russia. So many people who have done so many brilliant, impressive things, and they're contesting for the near same spot in the college. So it's really competitive. You have to understand that there are so many other people applying. So you have to improve yourself consistently, continuously, in order to get into a proper college. So you should not be overconfident. That was one of the biggest mistakes I made. I thought I would easily get in. I have good grades. I'm involved in extracurricular activities as well, but then there's always room for improvement. And the final mistake that I have noted down is about the English proficiency requirement. So I was applying test optional last year. I did the same this year. So some colleges, most of the colleges require you to show your English proficiency. So that's something colleges ask from international students. But then, if you have studied at an English medium school for the last 4 years of your high school, or I think it's 4 to 3, that depends upon the college's policy, that requirement gets waived. So you have to understand that, and some of the colleges don't waive it. So I think 2 to 3 colleges that I applied to last year didn't waive my requirement. I had not given any of those tests like IELTS, TOEFL, Duolingo English test. I had not given the SAT as well. So I just had to withdraw my application because they wanted me to show my English proficiency. I had not taken any tests, so those were just waste slots. They just occupied the slots in my common app, but then I knew that I was not getting accepted because I did not fulfill the requirement. So you have to look for colleges that fit your circumstance. So if you don't want to give English proficiency test, you have to select those universities that waive your requirement. So yeah, that's one mistake I made, and I hope that you guys don't make it. Now let's talk about the things to do, the things that you should be doing in order to get into top US colleges. So, the first one that people often overlook is listing your activities strategically. So, what I mean by that is you just have 10 slots. You can just list 10 different activities in the common app. And I I assume that most of you have done more than 10 meaningful activities throughout your high school. So that's not enough for you. So for that, I recommend you to list your top 10, and then the other activities that you feel are important but those that don't make it to your top 10, you can request your teachers to mention it and to tell how you worked for in that particular activity through the recommendation letter. So that way the admissions officers know that you were involved in certain activity even though you could not list it yourself. Teachers can help in this regard. And while listing the activities, I personally feel that the one that is the most important for you should make it to your first. It should be at the first. It should be listed at the first. So, like your most important activity at the first, then the second most important, and you descend it that way. And the other thing is, while listing activities, you don't have enough space. So for possession and leadership, you have 50 characters. That's enough for possession and leadership. For organization's name, you have 100 characters. Again, more than enough. But for activity description, you have just 150 characters, and an important activity that means a lot to you will not be explained, will not be properly justified in 150 characters. So you have to be very clever, very careful while explaining those activities. So I have an example from last year and I'd like to compare. So for fall 2022, I wrote something like this. So I was involved as the team captain for my basketball team, and what I wrote was led the boys to 3 school level tournaments and won an inter school basketball tournament in 2019. So what this means is led for to 3 competitions, okay, and won one. So this sentence just gives that meaning, nothing else. Okay, took part, won one, lost two. But then this year I changed. So I wrote 2019 joint school champion and best defender of the tournament, led daily training sessions, integrated strategy based sports technique for defense. So, yeah, you can, now this gives totally different meaning. So, led daily training sessions shows your importance to the team, integrated strategy based sports technique for defense. So shows how dedicated you are and how willing you are to help other teammates as well. So it shows that you won, it shows how important you are to the team, and it gives different values. So yeah, and about the activities, I'd like to recommend you to check out the website of College Essay Guy. So he posts YouTube videos as well. He posts articles on his website, and there he has given a list of verbs that really help you standardize the explanation of activities. So instead of saying did this, did that, you can say organized, orchestrated, or something like that, which gives greater meaning. So that's one thing you can do. And yes, so I think that is it. I'll be keeping the link to the verbs list in the description below. You can check it out. So that's really helpful. It'll really help you write the activities section properly, and please don't undermine the activities section. What I've seen is most of my friends wrote the activities section in around 10 to 15 minutes, but then it's really important. You should give it some more time and write it in a way that reflects who you are and how you were able to do the activity. So that's one thing. And the other part is the honors section. So you have place to write, mention 5 honors. So it's mostly your academic achievement, and you have to explain it properly. You have to quantify them. So instead of saying maybe, wait a minute, I'll give you an example. Yeah. So instead of saying ABC Outstanding Student Award recipient, what you can say is ABC Outstanding Student Award recipient, and in the brackets you can say chosen from around 200 students, 300, whatever is your case. If you quantify it, they know how prestigious it can be, how competitive it was. So that way the admissions officers will know what the actual value of the recognition is. So the admissions officers will obviously not know how many people contested for a competition at your school. It's impossible for them to know. But if you write it yourself, they will know, and they will know the value of it. So that's something you have to do. You have to write the honor section properly, and you have to mention the achievements you've got. So, and I've also seen some people totally skip this section. I recommend you not to do that. Even if you have not won major competitions or things like that, I'm sure you have won some intra-school level tournaments, competitions, and you mention them. That's going to add some value to your application. And the other thing is the additional information section. So I've seen that some people feel that the main essay suffices. It's enough to write the essay, and it's not very necessary to write the additional information. But I think that's wrong. In the additional information section, you have 650 words where you can write about the things that have not been included in your other parts of the application, not included or not properly justified. So here I'd recommend you to write around, explain 2 extracurricular activities, and you can explain maybe one activity in around 200 words, the other in 200, 250. So that way you write about 450 words. I'd not recommend you to go till 650 words. That would be too long. I don't think admissions officers would want to read that much. That's just my opinion. But then yeah, try to keep it short, but then explain those activities that were not properly explained in the activities section. So here you can explain it in 200 words instead of just the 150 characters, and that will help admissions officers know why you got into this activity, why is it meaningful, how is it impacting people around you. And yeah, and one thing I feel, and I've heard people say that, and even admissions officers say that they look for people who are making changes in other people's lives. So, how are you giving back to the society? That's one of the things admissions officers probably and most likely really look for. And yes, and the other thing about the activities section that I'd like to highlight, let's move back to activities section now, is you can better use the characters limit in the position and leadership part and organization's name part. So you'll not be needing 100 characters for listing the organization's name. So over there you can write something that you will not have to rewrite in the description box. So let me give an example. So let's say you wrote a research paper and you're not a part of any organization, you wrote it independently, someone supervised it, but then you are not part of an organization. Let's suppose that. So in the position and leadership part, you'll write author, done. But in the organization and name part, you can write the name of the research paper, something like research paper on the negative effects of climate change in Nepal, or anything, something like that. So that way you can talk about other research papers that you may have written or other aspects of the research paper on the description box. So that way you save space and you convey the message that you want to give to the admissions counselors. So that's what admissions officers. So that's one thing that I forgot to mention about. And yeah, about the SAT. So the preparation for the SAT is a bit different and can be difficult for international students. Mathematics part might not be as difficult, but then the English section is a bit confusing. So many rules to remember, and that can be a hassle. So I went test optional. I think it's not the worst of ideas to go test optional if you have good grades and if your academic side is strong. So good SAT score just shows that you are very capable to handle the academic rigor of that institution. So if you have good grades and good academic background, I think it's probably okay to go SAT optional. But then there are some merit based awards that require SAT and things like that. So you have to keep that in mind and act accordingly. And to check how important the SAT is for that particular school, you can again go back to the CDS, as I mentioned earlier, the common data set. I'll be showing it on the screen. So this part is of Washington and Lee University. It is in section C7, and you can see that standardized test scores are important for this institution. So it was kind of a gamble for me. I went SAT optional, but then there are other institutions who just consider SAT score, who don't even consider, and for institutions that have kept the value of standardized test scores as very important, I think it's good to give the SAT. You have to plan accordingly, and in this box you can see so many important stuff, like if the interview is important or not. It was just considered for Washington and Lee University, and application essay is important, so you have to put some good effort for that. If it's just considered, maybe you put effort into some other things that are very important for that institution. So yeah, and yeah, level of applicants interest is considered here. So maybe you try to demonstrate your interest in that institution, and that too will be considered. So this section C7 is one of the most important parts of the common data set, and I absolutely recommend you to go through the entire document. It'll really help you get a fresher perspective of the institution, what the admissions situation is, if you will be able, if your stats and your extracurricular activities involvement will be sufficient or not. So do go through the common data set of the colleges that you are applying to. And the other thing, the most important one, is the essay. The things that I recommend you to do is pre-plan. Plan from maybe 3 to 4 months ahead. You can even plan ahead of that, but then 3 to 4 months you have to plan, or else you're not going to get quality work. You have to give the essay to some close people, some people you trust, to review it. That way you will know what it feels from third person perspective, how they perceive the essay. So I recommend you to start early. You can make as many drafts as you want. You can change topic if you want midway, but then start early. That's going to give you a lot of time to change things. You can ask people for help. And we have one thing that I recommend you to do is ask admissions uh, counselors, officers from a particular institution to try and connect you to maybe current students from your area. And if you are able to connect with them, they will be able to give you a perspective as current students in that place, and they'll be able to tell you how it is, what are the things they feel, and the things you hear from them, their experiences, can be included in supplements like why us supplement is very common. Colleges ask that, and if you talk to the current students, you'll be able to know more things than what the website has for you, and then your supplements also will be of good quality. And if you are comfortable with them, and you can even ask them to review your essay, and that will be very good help. So yeah, you have to start early. You have to write multiple drafts change things. And one tip while writing essay is, and if it's getting lengthy, is if there's a particular sentence and you remove it and still the essay gives the same meaning, then either change the sentence because it's not impactful enough, or remove it. So that's one thing. And request your close ones to review it. Others reviewing your essay will be of great help. They'll be able to give a fresher perspective. And for supplement, as I told, it'll be great if you can connect with current students or alumni who will be able to tell you how their personal experience was, and you can use their experience while writing your supplement, why a supplement or any other things, because they have experienced it firsthand. And yeah, the other thing, the final thing that I'd like to tell you about the things you should do is watch out for merit-based scholarships. So the thing is, hyper selective colleges give good aid to international students, but they are very selective. And safety colleges, they accept you, but then they ask you to pay a lot. So you have to watch out for merit-based scholarships, and most of the colleges allow international students to compete as well. So look out for them. Some of them have very early deadline for merit-based applicants, so you have to look for that. And you have to, I think most of the colleges ask you to write extra essay for that, so write it. And yeah, I think that is it for international students. I'm talking from an international student's perspective. So these are the things that I'd recommend you to do properly, do nicely. And let me see if I have listed other things that I have forgotten to mention about today. I don't think so. And yeah, one final thing about financial aid, the CSS, filling out the CSS form can be a little bit tricky. For those who don't know, CSS profile is a document you have to fill yourself and send to most of the institutions. That's where you list down your financial background, your family situation. It can be a little bit confusing. There are so many other resources available online where you can take help from. There can be so many institutions available in your country, like Education USA. It's there in Nepal. I think it's in most of the other countries as well, where you can go and take help, and they'll be more than happy to help you out. So you have to be proactive while applying to the US. It is competitive. I think that it's getting competitive every year. So the competition level you have this year, the next year it's going to be even more competitive. So you have to be ready for that. You have to constantly improve yourself. And yeah, and if you guys want to know about my stats and what were the activities I was involved in, please leave a comment and I'll make a separate video talking about that. But for today, I think this is it. And yeah, thank you everyone for joining me on this video. And yeah, I hope to see you around for my other videos as well. Thank you.